The sound of breaking glass cut through the chatter of the restaurant like a gunshot. Every head turned. Wine dripped down the white tablecloth in slow red rivulets. In the middle of the chaos stood her, a woman in a glittering diamond choker, clutching her bleeding hand, her eyes wild with rage. And kneeling just below her, frozen in shock, was Lila, the waitress everyone adored. For a few seconds, the whole room stopped breathing. The woman's scream tore through the silence. "She bit me. That filthy waitress bit me." But the truth that no one would believe, was that it had been the other way around. If you're ready to hear the whole story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as crazy as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now let's get into it. Lila's hands shook as she stood up, trying to calm her voice. "Ma'am, please. You attacked me first. Don't you dare lie to me," the woman hissed, her perfect lipstick smeared. "Do you know who I am?" Lila did. Everyone in the city did. Camilla D'Amore, wife of billionaire real estate tycoon Adrian D'Amore, a couple so powerful that the entire restaurant seemed to orbit around their presence. Their money built hospitals, funded galleries, bought silence. And now, apparently, they could rewrite reality. Within seconds, security was rushing toward them. Phones were raised, recording, the flash of screens lighting the marble floor. Lila could already feel it, the shift in the air, that quiet judgment that spreads faster than any truth ever could. She'd only wanted to stop the woman from slapping her again. She'd only raised her arm in defense. But the next thing she knew, there was pain, a sharp sting on her wrist, and blood. Camilla had bitten her. Hard. And now, somehow, Lila was the villain. As the security guards led her toward the kitchen, Lila caught sight of him. Adrian D'Amore. Tall, cold, and unreadable, standing beside his furious wife with a gaze that felt like winter itself. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second, and in that glance, something shifted. A flicker of guilt, recognition, pity. She couldn't tell. What she did know was this: that moment, those few seconds of disbelief, would destroy the life she had worked so hard to build. Hours later, after the restaurant closed and the police left without arresting anyone, Lila sat alone on the curb, her apron stained with wine and tears. The city's neon lights blurred in her vision. The bite mark on her wrist throbbed beneath the bandage, a cruel reminder that power always came with teeth. Her phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. "We both know what really happened tonight. Meet me at Pier 47 tomorrow, midnight. Don't tell anyone." Lila's heart stopped. She stared at the screen, unsure if it was a trap or a lifeline. Who was Adrian D'Amore himself? Or someone who had seen everything? As the city hummed around her, Lila whispered to herself, "Why me? What did I ever do to deserve this?" But deep down, she already sensed it. This was no random incident. Something much darker had just begun. If you were Lila, standing in that restaurant with everyone staring and judging, would you fight back against the lie, or stay silent to protect yourself? Comment below what you would have done in her place. Before that night, Lila Torres lived a quiet, ordinary life. At least, that's what everyone thought. She woke up every morning in her tiny studio apartment above a laundromat, the scent of detergent and steam her daily perfume. She'd tie her hair into a messy bun, slip on her worn white sneakers, and walk the 8 blocks to Le Jardin, the most luxurious restaurant in the city, a place she could never afford to eat, but where she spent 12 hours a day serving people who treated dinner like a performance. To the customers, she was invisible. To the staff, she was dependable. To herself, she was a shadow trying to stay alive. But there was something in Lila that refused to die, the dream her mother planted in her when she was a little girl. You don't have to be born rich to build something beautiful. Her mother had been gone 5 years now. Cancer, unpaid bills, and the kind of exhaustion that even love couldn't cure. Since then, Lila worked double shifts to pay off debts and put her younger brother, Eli, through trade school. He was her reason for everything, the only family she had left. Eli always told her, "You're too soft for this world, Lila. You keep giving people the benefit of the doubt." And she'd laugh, but she knew he was right. She believed in fairness, in decency, in the idea that people with power could still have hearts. That belief would shatter soon. The restaurant. Le Jardin was a cathedral of wealth. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen rain, violins played live every night, and the walls were lined with gold leaf mirrors that reflected everyone's best lies. The billionaire crowd came not for the food, but to be seen: politicians, CEOs, heirs, influencers. Every shift was a lesson in pretending not to hear cruelty disguised as charm. But Lila was good at disappearing. At least, until they walked in. The D'Amores. Adrian and Camilla were the city's royalty, the power couple whose faces graced every magazine cover. He was stoic and brilliant, the quiet empire builder. She was stunning, mercurial, and always surrounded by whispers. Together, they radiated perfection. Or so it seemed. When they first visited Le Jardin, everyone rushed to serve them. Lila hadn't meant to catch their attention, but she did. It was the night she accidentally spilled a glass of champagne on Camilla's diamond bracelet. Instead of anger, Adrian had simply smiled, a polite, distant smile that didn't reach his eyes, and said, "Don't worry. Accidents happen." Camilla, on the other hand, had glared at Lila like she was dirt on her shoe. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, every time the D'Amores returned, Lila somehow ended up assigned to their table. Camilla's tone was always cutting, her requests impossible, her gaze venomous. But Lila endured. She needed the job. Still, something about Adrian unsettled her. There was a sadness in him, a tension behind his composed exterior, as if he were trapped in a life built from secrets. Sometimes she caught him watching her, not in desire, but in recognition, as if he saw a version of himself in her struggle. It frightened her, and it drew her in. The morning after the restaurant incident, the story had already gone viral. Waitress attacks billionaire's wife in shocking scene. Camilla D'Amore hospitalized after brutal assault. Jealous staffer loses control at Le Jardin. The headlines painted Lila as a monster. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages from co-workers, reporters, even strangers telling her to disappear. By noon, she'd been suspended from work pending investigation. The restaurant manager, a man who'd once called her the most reliable server we have, couldn't even look her in the eye. "Lila, just stay low for a while," he'd said. "The D'Amores donate half our funding. My hands are tied." So, she did what she'd always done when life kicked her down. She went home, locked the door, and tried to breathe. But the walls felt tighter now. The city louder. Her silence heavier. And then she remembered the message. "We both know what really happened tonight. Meet me at Pier 47 tomorrow, midnight." She reread it for the 10th time, heart hammering. Could it really be Adrian? Why would he reach out? And if it wasn't him, who else would risk it? Her instinct screamed not to go. But the bite mark on her wrist pulsed like a wound that wouldn't heal, proof that truth was on her side. She couldn't just hide. Maybe this was her one chance to set things right. That night, as she stood by her window, watching the rain blur the city lights, Lila whispered the same prayer her mother used to say, "Let the truth find me before the lies do." She didn't know yet that truth was already walking toward her, slowly, silently, dressed in a black coat that carried the scent of power and regret. Do you believe ordinary people can stand up against the powerful and still win? Or does the system always protect those with money and influence? Share your thoughts in the comments. Lila's next choice might depend on it. The wind was sharp that night at Pier 47, the kind of wind that carried secrets, salt, and a faint smell of rust from the old fishing boats that hadn't left dock in years. Lila's fingers trembled as she checked her phone for the 5th time. 11:59 p.m. She stood beneath a flickering lamppost, clutching her coat tighter, the city's skyline glowing faintly behind her. The docks were deserted except for the creak of ropes and the distant hum of passing ferries. Every instinct screamed she shouldn't be there. But she couldn't go home without knowing. Then came the footsteps. Slow. Confident. A tall figure emerged from the shadows, a black coat, polished shoes that didn't belong anywhere near rust and saltwater. Adrian D'Amore. For a moment, Lila forgot how to breathe. He stopped a few feet away, eyes fixed on her like he'd been expecting her fear. "You came," he said quietly. His voice was low, steady, almost too calm. "I thought you sent the message," she whispered. "I did." Lila took a step back. "Why?" "After what your wife did, after she lied, you just let everyone think I attacked her. He looked away, jaw tight. "You don't understand what you've stepped into." "Then explain it to me." A long pause. The wind whipped his hair, but his face stayed unreadable. Finally, he said, "What happened that night was not what it seemed. Camilla's behavior wasn't random. She's sick. She's been sick for a long time." Lila frowned. "Sick? You mean mentally?" He hesitated. "She's unstable. And lately, she's been convinced that I'm having an affair." The words hit Lila like a blow. "An affair? With me?" He didn't answer. Her breath caught. "That's why she attacked me." Adrian's eyes flicked toward the water. "Camilla saw the way I looked at you." Lila's pulse quickened. "The way you looked at me?" He took a step closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Like you were something real in a world that's fake." For a heartbeat, neither of them spoke. The air between them hummed with tension, part fear, part something else neither wanted to name. Then his tone hardened. "She has people watching you now. Her security detail. She thinks you're part of some plot against her. You need to leave the city, Lila. Tonight." Lila shook her head, disbelief spreading like ice. "Leave? You think I can just vanish? Everyone already thinks I attacked her. I've lost my job, my reputation. My brother's tuition depends on me." Adrian's eyes softened. "I can help you. I can fix this." But Lila stepped back, shaking. "No. You can't fix this with money or power. You should have spoken the truth the moment it happened." Adrian looked down, guilt shadowing his face. "If I defended you, she would have destroyed you anyway. She's dangerous when she feels cornered." "Then why are you with her?" He didn't answer. But the silence was its own confession. A car engine started nearby, dark windows, headlights off. Adrian stiffened. "They followed me," he murmured. "She's tracking everything I do." "Who's she?" "Camilla." Before Lila could react, he pressed something into her hand, a small USB drive, cold and metallic. "If anything happens to me," he said urgently, "give this to Detective Ruiz at the 12th Precinct. Don't open it. Don't show anyone else. Understand?" Lila looked at the drive. "What's on it?" "Proof," he said. "Of what she's done. Of who she really is." But before she could ask more, he turned toward the shadows. A black SUV rolled forward slowly, headlights flashing once. Adrian's eyes widened. "Go, Lila. No." Then he ran, disappearing between the stacks of shipping crates just as the SUV door opened and two men stepped out. Lila's heart pounded. She turned and bolted toward the pier exit, clutching the USB in her fist. The night swallowed her footsteps, the sound of pursuit echoing behind her. By the time she reached the streetlights again, she was alone, breath ragged, tears stinging her eyes. She looked down at her wrist, the faint scar of the bite mark glowing pale under the streetlight. Somehow she knew that moment in the restaurant had been the beginning of something much bigger. And now she was caught in the middle of a war between lies and truth, and one of the world's most powerful couples. If you were Lila and a billionaire handed you a drive that could expose everything, but could also destroy your life, would you open it or turn it in? Comment below what you would do. Lila barely slept that night. Every sound outside her apartment made her flinch: a passing car, footsteps on the stairs, the hum of the refrigerator. Each one could have been them. By dawn, she sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the small USB drive on her nightstand. It looked harmless, a cheap black stick of plastic and metal. Yet Adrian's words echoed in her mind. Proof. Of what she's done. Of who she really is. She traced her fingers over it, torn between fear and curiosity. What kind of proof could be dangerous enough to get a man like him hunted? The unexpected visitor. At 9 a.m., someone knocked on her door. 3 quick taps, then silence. Lila froze. Her heartbeat thundered in her chest. She peeked through the peephole. A woman stood in the hallway, dark trench coat, badge clipped to her belt. Detective Ruiz. The same name Adrian had mentioned. Lila hesitated, then unlocked the door an inch. "Detective." The woman gave a faint smile. "Lila Torres?" I'm Detective Carmen Ruiz. I'd like to talk about what happened at Le Jardin. Lila's throat went dry. The restaurant. Ruiz nodded. You've been hard to reach. I tried calling the number on your employment file. Disconnected. I changed my phone. Smart, Ruiz said softly, her eyes sharp but kind. May I come in? Lila hesitated again, then stepped aside. The detective took in the small, tidy apartment, the hand-me-down furniture, the framed photo of a young man, Eli, on the shelf. Nice place, she said. You live alone? Yes. Ruiz sat at the kitchen table, pulling out a notepad. I'm not here to arrest you, Lila. Off the record, I think the story in the papers is garbage. But I need your help to prove it. Lila's pulse raced. You believe me? I believe there's more to it. The detective flipped a page. Adrian D'Amore's been under quiet investigation for nearly a year. Financial irregularities, missing funds from his charitable foundations. And his wife, she's made multiple reports claiming he's violent. But no charges ever stick. Too much money, too many lawyers. Lila frowned. So which one of them is lying? Ruiz looked up. Maybe both. The drive. Lila's eyes drifted toward the nightstand, where the USB drive lay half-hidden under a napkin. Ruiz noticed. Something you want to show me? Lila hesitated. Adrian's warning rang in her ears. Don't show anyone else. She forced a small smile. No. Nothing. Ruiz studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. If you remember anything unusual, anything at all, call me. Don't trust anyone from that family. They play chess with people's lives. After the detective left, Lila locked the door and sank to the floor. Her hands were shaking again. She didn't know who to trust. Adrian had risked everything to give her that drive. But what if Ruiz was right? What if he wasn't the savior he pretended to be? The drive opens. By late afternoon, curiosity won. Lila plugged the USB into her laptop. The screen flickered. A folder appeared /Camilla_files/. Inside, dozens of video clips, photos, and documents. She opened one at random. It was a surveillance video, grainy, time-stamped from 2 months ago. A lavish living room. Camilla D'Amore pacing back and forth, her hair wild, her voice shaking as she screamed into her phone. I know what you're doing, Adrian. Don't lie to me. I've seen the messages. You think I don't know about her. Then came another voice, calm, cold. Adrian's. You're not well, Camilla. You're seeing things again. Camilla hurled a glass at the wall. The camera view wobbled slightly, as if whoever was recording had flinched. The clip ended abruptly. Lila's hands trembled as she clicked on another file. This time, a medical report. Patient name, Camilla D'Amore. Diagnosis, borderline personality disorder. Psychotic features. Prescription, haloperidol. Lithium. She exhaled shakily. Oh my God! Adrian hadn't been lying. His wife was sick. But then she saw the next folder. /finances/ Dozens of spreadsheets, offshore account numbers, transaction logs. Millions of dollars. Transfers between shell companies. Some listed under Adrian's name, others under hers. Her blood ran cold. There it was, her name. Lila Torres. A numbered account in the Cayman Islands under her ID. $500,000. What? She whispered. That's not mine. Before she could process it, the laptop beeped, an alert flashing, remote access detected. The files began to vanish, one by one. Deleted faster than she could stop them. No, no, no. Lila yanked the USB out, but it was too late. The screen went black. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number, I told you not to open it. Her chest tightened. Adrian. Or was it? The chase. Minutes later, someone knocked at her door again, louder this time. Heavy fists. Lila Torres. Open up. It wasn't the detective's voice. She froze. Looked around. The fire escape. Her purse. The drive. The knocking turned into pounding. Lila grabbed the drive, stuffed it into her coat pocket, and climbed out the window. Her sneakers hit the cold metal of the escape ladder. Below, a black car idled in the alley. She climbed down quietly, breath ragged. Her heart raced as she ducked into the shadows and ran, away from the apartment, away from everything she knew. She didn't stop until she reached the crowded noise of downtown, blending into the moving sea of strangers. For the first time since the incident, Lila realized the truth. This wasn't just about a bite in a restaurant. This was a web, one that had been spun long before she ever spilled champagne on a billionaire's wife. And somehow, she was now tangled right in the center. When your world starts collapsing around you, do you run, or do you fight to clear your name, even if no one believes you? The rain came down in thin, merciless sheets as Lila hid beneath the crumbling archway of an abandoned train station on the outskirts of the city. Her clothes were soaked, her hair clinging to her face, and the USB drive burned like a secret in her pocket. She hadn't stopped running for hours. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the files disappearing, the account under her name, the message warning her, the black car waiting below her window. Somebody wanted her erased. She pulled out her phone, staring at the last text from the unknown number. "I told you not to open it." Her fingers hovered above the screen. She typed one word, "Adrian." No response. Then another message appeared. "You need to trust me." She frowned. "If this is Adrian, prove it," she whispered to herself. A new text flashed. "Hotel Amara. Room 1609. Midnight." Her breath caught. The Hotel Amara, the most exclusive hotel in the city. A place for the powerful and untouchable. For a long moment, she stared at the message. It could be a trap. But what other choice did she have? She needed answers. The Hotel Amara. By midnight, Lila stood in front of the hotel's glass doors, her reflection trembling in the rain-slick surface. She looked like someone else now, haunted, desperate, dangerous. The concierge barely looked up as she slipped inside. The lobby smelled of jasmine and money. A pianist played softly in the corner, pretending not to notice the storm outside. She took the elevator to the 16th floor, her pulse thudding in her ears. When the doors slid open, Adrian was there. He looked exhausted, his suit wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot. But the moment he saw her, his expression softened with something between relief and guilt. "You came," he said quietly. "I almost didn't." Lila's voice trembled. "People were at my apartment. They tried to break in. The drive, someone hacked it. Everything's gone." Adrian's jaw tightened. "They found you faster than I thought." "Who?" "Your wife." He hesitated. "Not just her. The people behind her. The ones who helped me build everything." She stared at him, confused. "I don't understand." He gestured toward the small dining table by the window. "Sit. I'll explain. The truth beneath the empire." As the city lights glittered below them, Adrian told her everything. Camilla hadn't just been unstable, she'd been used. Her illness had been exploited by the very company Adrian had helped found, D'Amore Holdings, a front for laundering money through charities and philanthropic ventures. Years ago, when Adrian tried to back out, they'd threatened him. His wife's breakdowns were perfect leverage. Every outburst discredited him further. "They're watching both of us now," he said. "The night you were attacked at the restaurant, it wasn't spontaneous. It was staged." Lila's stomach twisted. "Staged? You mean?" She was triggered intentionally. "They needed a public distraction. A scandal that would destroy my credibility before I turned whistleblower. You were convenient." Her voice broke. "So I was bait." Adrian's eyes darkened with guilt. "I didn't know they'd go that far. But you let them." He flinched. "Lila, you let them destroy me. You let your wife bite me, humiliate me, ruin my name, and you said nothing." The raw anger in her voice echoed against the walls. Adrian stepped forward, his own mask cracking. "You think I haven't paid for it? You think this is easy? You have no idea what I've risked to protect you." "Protect me?" She laughed bitterly. "You used me." He grabbed her wrist, not roughly, but with desperate urgency. "You have to believe me. I'm trying to make it right." "By lying to everyone," she snapped. By letting me take the fall? He released her slowly, his hand trembling. I can't undo what's been done. But I can end it. I have another copy of the evidence, the real one. It's in a vault under D'Amore Holdings. You help me get it, and we both walk away free. Lila shook her head. Why me? Because they already think you're involved. They're watching you as closely as they watch me. Together, we can slip through their blind spot. She turned away, torn between fury and fear. And if I say no? He looked at her then, really looked at her, eyes heavy with something deeper than regret. Then they'll kill you, Lila. The room went silent. Outside, thunder rumbled. Inside, her world split in two. The betrayal. But before she could answer, the door burst open. Two men in black suits stormed in, guns drawn. Get down! Adrian shouted, pulling her behind the table. Glass shattered as a bullet tore through the lamp. Lila screamed, heart pounding. Adrian ducked behind the bar, returning fire from a hidden weapon she didn't know he carried. The room filled with a deafening echo of gunshots and chaos. When the shooting stopped, one man lay motionless. The other fled. Lila stared at Adrian, chest heaving. Who are you? Adrian's hands shook as he reloaded. Someone who's running out of time. Then his phone buzzed on the floor. A single message flashed across the screen. Camilla, you chose her. Now I choose the truth. Adrian's face went pale. He dropped the phone. What does that mean? Lila asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the window, staring out at the lightning flashing across the skyline. She knows about the vault, he whispered. And she's not going to destroy the evidence. She's going to release it. Wouldn't that clear your name? Adrian shook his head slowly. No, Lila. You don't understand. That evidence ties you to everything too. The accounts. The transfers. If she goes public, you'll go down with me. Her stomach dropped. So, she's framing me and you. Yes. And she's winning. For a moment, silence filled the room. Rain streaked the windows like tears neither of them could cry. Then Adrian turned to her. You can still walk away. Pretend none of this ever happened. Lila met his gaze, eyes burning with a mix of betrayal and resolve. You said I was bait. Well, bait can bite back. As she stormed toward the door, Adrian called after her. Lila, wait. You don't know what she's capable of. She turned, voice steady. Neither do you. Then she was gone, leaving behind a man who had built empires but couldn't hold on to the one thing that might have saved him, the truth. Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to find out they were using you for their own escape? How would you confront that kind of betrayal? The city had never looked colder. Neon lights shimmered on rain-slick streets as Lila walked aimlessly through the night, soaked to the bone, heart breaking in quiet, invisible pieces. She didn't know where she was going anymore. Every face on every passing car felt like a threat. Every reflection in a window looked like someone following her. Her phone was dead. Her money was gone. Her name was poison. All she had left was fear, and that old ache of injustice that refused to fade. The broadcast. By morning, her picture was everywhere. Television screens blared from store windows. Breaking news: Lila Torres implicated in D'Amore financial scandal. Suspected accomplice linked to missing evidence in Billionaire corruption case. Camilla D'Amore releases explosive video exposing husband's betrayal and waitress's role. Lila stood frozen in front of a pharmacy window, staring at the screen as her world unraveled in public view. Camilla's trembling face filled the frame. My husband's lover, she sobbed dramatically, helped him steal millions meant for children's hospitals. And when I confronted her, she attacked me. Look. She held up a close-up photo of her bite wound, bandaged perfectly. Lila's stomach churned. It was all scripted. Staged. Perfectly edited. Camilla's crocodile tears glistened beneath studio lights. I feared for my life, she whispered. But I forgive her. I forgive them both. The reporter murmured something sympathetic as Lila's own name crawled across the screen like a death sentence. She wanted to scream. To smash the glass. But she just stood there, trembling, while strangers passing by stared at her, at the face they'd just seen on the news. Someone pointed. "Hey, isn't that?" Lila turned and ran. By nightfall, she found herself outside an old warehouse by the river, the one her brother Eli used to work at before his trade school classes. It had been abandoned for months, but she knew how to break in through the side door. Inside, dust and silence greeted her. She curled up on a stack of old blankets, trying to stop her teeth from chattering. Her thoughts were a blur: Adrian's lies, Camilla's venom, the detective's warning. She wanted to believe Adrian had meant well once. But every part of her life that had touched his had turned to ash. Now she wasn't just jobless, she was a fugitive. She thought of Eli. Sweet, loyal Eli, who had always believed in her. She couldn't even call him now. If the police were watching, they'd trace the signal. For the first time, the weight of it all crashed down, suffocating her. Tears spilled freely. "I didn't do anything wrong," she whispered into the dark. "Why is this happening to me?" Her voice broke into a sob. No one answered. Just the soft hum of the river outside, carrying her despair away. A visit in the shadows. Sometime after midnight, a noise jolted her awake. Footsteps. Lila's heart froze. She pressed herself against the wall, holding her breath. A flashlight beam cut through the dark. "Lila!" A voice called softly. It was Detective Ruiz. Lila stepped forward cautiously. "How did you find me?" Ruiz lowered the flashlight. "I've been tracking Camilla's media drops. Every story she feeds the press leaks a little too perfectly. Someone's feeding her. Someone close." "You mean Adrian?" Ruiz hesitated. "Maybe. Or maybe someone who wants both of you gone." The detective's expression softened. "You're in danger, Lila. More than you realize. The people behind this, they don't care who gets hurt." Lila sank onto a crate, exhausted. "They've already won. Everyone believes I did it. My life's over." Ruiz knelt in front of her. "Listen to me. I've seen innocent people crushed by power before. You want justice. You fight for it, even if the whole world's against you." Lila shook her head. "I don't have anything left." "Yes, you do," Ruiz said. "You have truth." She pulled something from her coat, a sealed envelope. "Anonymous drop at my office this morning. I think it's from Adrian." Lila's breath caught as she took it. Inside was a single keycard and a handwritten note. "Vault 3C. Midnight tomorrow. Finish what I couldn't." Ruiz stood. "I can't come with you. They're watching me too. But if you find that evidence, bring it to me, and I'll make sure it sees daylight." Then, before Lila could reply, the detective slipped away into the darkness. Lila sat alone again, the keycard trembling in her hand. She didn't know whether to hate Adrian or thank him. Maybe both. But one thing was clear: she was done running. The breakdown. That night, she stared at the city through a cracked window, its skyline like a promise she could no longer touch. Her reflection looked foreign, eyes hollow, face pale, hope nearly extinguished. She whispered, "Mom, if you can hear me, I'm sorry. I tried to do the right thing. I really did." A single tear fell, catching the dim light. For a fleeting second, she almost gave up. She imagined walking into the river, letting the cold water take everything, the lies, the pain, the fear. But then she thought of Eli. His laugh. His promise to build her a better life someday. If she disappeared, he'd never know the truth. He'd spend the rest of his life thinking his sister was a thief and a liar. And that, more than anything, she couldn't bear. She clenched the keycard in her fist. "No," she whispered. "I'm not done." The resolve. When dawn broke again, pale light spilling across the river, Lila rose slowly from the blankets. Her body ached, but something had shifted inside her. For the first time in days, she felt a spark of purpose, small but alive. She would go to that vault. She would find the truth. And she would end this. Whether Adrian was friend or foe no longer mattered. Whether Camilla's madness was real or orchestrated didn't either. Because this time, Lila wasn't just a waitress. She was a witness. And witnesses, when cornered, become warriors. When everything is stripped away, your job, your reputation, even your safety. What would you hold on to keep fighting? Hope, love, justice. The morning fog rolled off the river like breath from a sleeping giant. Lila stood at the edge of the old warehouse rooftop, watching sunlight break through gray clouds, slow, hesitant, but relentless. It had been days since she'd last felt warmth. The city below looked different now. Not like a monster trying to swallow her whole, but like a maze, one she could finally learn to navigate. She'd spent the night studying every memory, every moment from the beginning. The restaurant, the bite, the message, Adrian's hesitation, Camilla's rage. Every thread led back to one thing, the vault. If Adrian had told the truth, the real evidence, the key to clearing her name, was hidden there. If he'd lied, then it would all end anyway. Either way, she was done being a pawn in other people's games. She looked at the keycard in her hand. Vault 3C. Midnight. Her pulse quickened. It was time to stop surviving. Time to fight back. Before leaving, Lila found an old payphone near the docks, the kind no one used anymore. She dialed the one number she'd memorized since childhood. Eli. The sleepy voice on the other end jolted awake. Lila. Oh my God, where are you? They said. I don't have time, she cut in softly. You just need to know I didn't do it. None of it. I knew it, he said fiercely. I never believed them. Her throat tightened. Listen to me. If something happens to me, don't say that. Go to Detective Ruiz at the 12th Precinct. Tell her everything. She'll know what to do. Lila, please. Just come home. She smiled sadly, tears welling. Soon. I promise. When she hung up, her hands were trembling, but her heart felt steady. For the first time in weeks, she wasn't running from fear. She was running toward the truth. The memory that changed everything. That afternoon, Lila sat at a small cafe under a fake name, drinking coffee that tasted like cardboard but felt like courage. As she flipped through a newspaper, an old photo caught her eye. An article about the D'Amores from 3 years ago. Adrian, Camilla, and a group of business partners smiling at a charity gala. Behind them stood a banner, D'Amore Foundation, in partnership with Ruiz Global Logistics. Her blood ran cold. Ruiz. Detective Carmen Ruiz. It couldn't be a coincidence. Lila pulled the photo closer, her heart pounding. The same sharp features. The same dark eyes. Younger, but unmistakable. Detective Ruiz hadn't just known the D'Amores, she'd worked with them. The words from that night replayed in her mind. You want justice. You fight for it, even if the whole world's against you. What if that wasn't encouragement? What if it was manipulation? Had Ruiz sent her to that vault not to expose the truth, but to retrieve something for them? Her coffee went cold as realization set in. She had no allies left. The decision. That evening, she found herself walking toward the D'Amore Tower, the headquarters of everything that had destroyed her life. It loomed over the skyline like a monument to corruption and cruelty. She wore a black coat and a security badge she'd found in the envelope Adrian left. Every step toward the lobby felt like trespassing into the heart of her own nightmare. But she didn't waver. The guard barely glanced at her as she swiped the badge. The elevator doors closed, trapping her reflection in gold and glass. Her pulse raced. This is it, she whispered to herself. For Mom. For Eli. For me. When the elevator opened, she stepped into a quiet corridor lined with marble and security cameras. At the end, a steel door marked vault access, authorized personnel only. The keycard trembled in her hand. She swiped it. A green light blinked. The door slid open. Cold air rushed out. Inside were rows of safety boxes and data servers humming softly in the dark. The vault. She walked deeper, every sound amplified, her footsteps, her breath, her heartbeat. Vault 3C sat at the far end, labeled in black ink. She inserted the card. The lock clicked. The door swung open. Inside, a sleek metal briefcase, small but heavy. She opened it. Documents. Hard drives. Photographs. And on top, a letter addressed to her. Lila Torres. Her hands shook as she unfolded it. Lila, if you're reading this, I didn't make it. I'm sorry I dragged you into this, but you were the only one who still saw me as human. The evidence in this case is enough to destroy not just Camilla, but everyone she works for. Ruiz, the investors, the politicians, all of them. Don't trust anyone. Take this to the press. And if you can, forgive me. Adrian. Her chest tightened. Adrian hadn't been the villain. Not completely. He'd been a man trapped in his own empire, and she'd been the collateral damage. Tears stung her eyes. For a moment, she let herself feel it, the grief, the exhaustion, the weight of every betrayal. Then she straightened her shoulders. He'd given her the truth. Now she would use it. The power returns. Footsteps echoed down the hall, fast, deliberate, coming closer. She snapped the briefcase shut and turned off the light. Two silhouettes appeared at the end of the corridor. Security. Lila's heart pounded. But she didn't panic. Not this time. She slipped into the shadows between the servers, crouched low, and waited. The men passed, flashlights sweeping the walls. When the light moved away, she darted out silently and slipped through a side exit, the briefcase clutched tight against her chest. By the time they noticed the open vault, she was already gone. Outside, the wind hit her face like freedom. She'd done it. She had the evidence. She had the truth. But as she disappeared into the crowd, she whispered to herself, "This isn't over. It's just beginning." And for the first time since that horrible night, she believed it. Have you ever realized that strength doesn't come from the people who stand beside you, but from what you decide to do when you're completely alone? The city was electric that night. Storm clouds boiling above the skyline, thunder vibrating through glass towers like the heartbeat of a sleeping beast. Lila moved through the streets with purpose, her hood pulled low, the metal briefcase gripped tight against her ribs. Every nerve in her body burned with adrenaline. She'd spent the last hour reviewing the files inside, and what she found had shattered everything she thought she knew. Camilla D'Amore wasn't just a jealous, unhinged wife. She was the mastermind behind a billion-dollar laundering network. Her charity foundations funneled stolen money into offshore accounts, bribing senators, and silencing whistleblowers, one by one. Adrian had tried to stop her. That was why he'd sent the evidence. That was why he'd died. Now, the proof was in Lila's hands, and every powerful person in the city would do anything to stop her from revealing it. But she didn't care anymore. She wasn't the waitress who apologized for existing. She was the woman who had survived being bitten, betrayed, and broken, and was still standing. The broadcast station. It was nearly midnight when she reached the Channel 9 News headquarters. The glass doors reflected her face, pale, determined, eyes lit with quiet fury. She took a breath and walked inside. The night receptionist barely looked up. "We're closed." Lila placed the briefcase on the counter. "Not for this." Something in her tone made the woman pause. Within minutes, a producer appeared, curious, wary. "I have evidence," Lila said. "On the D'Amores. It's real. It's everything." The producer frowned. "Who are you?" Lila met her gaze steadily. "The waitress Camilla D'Amore Bit." That did it. Within moments, the newsroom buzzed with urgency. A handful of journalists crowded around as Lila opened the briefcase and revealed the files. Photos, offshore documents, video evidence, and a recorded confession from Adrian himself. The truth in black and white. As the journalists started verifying the files, a tremor of fear rippled through her. If they could see it, so could she. The storm breaks. Outside, thunder cracked. Suddenly, darkness. Every monitor blinked out. The room plunged into black. Someone gasped. Someone else whispered, "Backup power's offline." Lila's heart stopped. A slow, deliberate clap echoed from the entrance. When the emergency lights flickered back on, Camilla D'Amore stood there, sleek black coat, red lips, eyes gleaming with madness. "You really thought you could win," she purred. Lila's stomach turned to ice. "It's over, Camilla. The truth's out." Camilla smiled faintly. "Oh, sweetheart. Truth is just a story people believe. And I've always told better stories than you." Two armed guards stepped in behind her. The journalists froze. No one moved. Camilla walked closer, her heels clicking on the tile. Adrian thought he could expose me too. Poor thing. I had to show him the cost of betrayal. Lila's pulse roared in her ears. You killed him. Camilla tilted her head. He killed himself with his choices. Something in Lila snapped. All the fear, humiliation, and pain erupted into something fierce. No, she said, her voice steady. You killed him. And you almost killed me. But you made one mistake. You didn't finish the job. Camilla laughed softly. You think anyone will believe you over me? Lila's lips curved. They don't have to. Because Adrian's voice is already live. Camilla froze. What? Behind her, one of the producers whispered, She uploaded it before you got here. A monitor flickered on, one the blackout hadn't reached, displaying a live broadcast to millions. Adrian D'Amore's recorded confession. If you're seeing this, it means I'm gone. My wife, Camilla D'Amore, has orchestrated one of the largest frauds in U.S. history. Camilla's face drained of color. Every word was now echoing across televisions, phones, and laptops throughout the city. She turned to Lila, fury blazing. You ruined everything. Lila didn't back down. No, Camilla. You did. Camilla lunged, her nails flashing like claws. The two women collided, the briefcase clattering across the floor. They struggled, hair tangled, breath ragged. Camilla screamed, You don't deserve to destroy me. Lila gritted her teeth. I didn't destroy you. The truth did. With a surge of strength, she shoved Camilla backward, right into a glass desk that shattered beneath her. Security rushed in, shouting. Lila staggered back, bruised and breathless, as police sirens wailed outside. Camilla writhed on the floor, hissing through her teeth, and then the handcuffs snapped around her wrists. Detective Ruiz entered moments later, her face pale, expression unreadable. For a moment, Lila thought she might draw her gun. But instead, Ruiz said quietly, You did it. Lila looked at her warily. Did I? Ruiz nodded once. You just took down the D'Amores. And every name tied to them. Then she added, softer, I guess I underestimated you. Lila exhaled shakily. Everyone did. The aftermath. By dawn, the city was buzzing again, but this time, it wasn't lies that filled the air. Every headline screamed the same words. Camilla D'Amore arrested in billion-dollar scandal. Waitress turned whistleblower exposes corruption. Outside the station, reporters waited to catch a glimpse of Lila. But she slipped quietly through a side door, unnoticed, her hoodie pulled up against the morning chill. For the first time, she didn't care about being seen. The world finally knew who she was, and that was enough. The quiet victory. She walked to the pier, the same place where Adrian had given her the drive, where this nightmare began. The river shimmered gold under the rising sun. Lila took out the letter Adrian had written her. It was damp from her pocket, the ink smudged. I forgive you, she whispered. And I hope you found peace. She let the letter drift into the water. As it floated away, she felt something inside her unclench, like she was finally free. Her phone buzzed. A text from Eli. They cleared your name, Lila. You're all over the news. I'm proud of you. She smiled through tears. The sky blazed orange and pink, painting the city in light. For the first time in forever, she felt the weight lift, replaced by something she'd forgotten how to feel. Hope. Have you ever faced someone who tried to destroy you, and realized the best revenge was just surviving and speaking your truth? Tell me in the comments how you would have handled Camilla if you were in Lila's place. 2 months later, the city had changed, or maybe it was Lila who had. The skyline no longer looked like a cage made of glass and lies. It looked alive. Human. Imperfect, like her, but full of second chances. She'd moved into a small apartment overlooking the bay. Nothing fancy, but the kind of place where the morning sun touched the kitchen walls and the smell of coffee lingered all day. Eli had started college again, thanks to a scholarship fund raised in her honor. The media had turned her story into a symbol, the waitress who stood up to a billionaire empire and won. But Lila didn't feel like a hero. She felt like a survivor learning how to breathe again. The interview. A knock on her door startled her. When she opened it, a young reporter stood there, smiling nervously. Miss Torres? Sorry to bother you. Channel 9's doing a follow-up feature. The world wants to know, how does it feel to be the woman who exposed the D'Amores? Lila thought for a moment, then said softly, It doesn't feel like victory. It feels like freedom. The reporter hesitated. Do you regret any of it? Lila's eyes drifted to the window, to the city bathed in morning light. She remembered the bite, the fear, the betrayal, and the night she almost gave up. Then she smiled faintly. No. Because I finally learned that silence is the most dangerous lie. The reporter nodded, recording every word. And what will you do now? Lila shrugged, glancing at the stack of notebooks on her table. Tell other people's stories. The ones that never get told. The reporter grinned. You're writing. Trying to, she said with a small laugh. It's strange, but after everything, I still believe in people. I still believe truth matters. The reporter smiled, thanked her, and left. As the door closed, Lila let out a deep breath, and for the first time in months, it didn't feel heavy. The unexpected visitor. That night, as rain began to fall, there was another knock. Softer this time. Lila hesitated before opening it. A woman stood in the hallway, soaked and trembling, a face Lila recognized instantly. Detective Ruiz. Lila's pulse quickened. What do you want? Ruiz looked exhausted, haunted. They forced me out. Internal affairs. They found my name in the offshore accounts. I'm done. Lila crossed her arms. You're lucky that's all you lost. Ruiz nodded, shame flooding her eyes. I know. But I didn't come for sympathy. I came to say thank you. You exposed them, and you saved lives. People like me, we got too comfortable in their world. For a long moment, Lila said nothing. Then quietly, the truth costs everyone something. Even you. Ruiz swallowed hard. Be careful, Lila. Even when the monsters fall, their shadows stay behind. With that, she turned and walked into the rain, disappearing down the corridor. Lila watched her go, not with anger, but with understanding. Some people were too broken to be evil. Some just forgot they had a choice. The letter. The next morning, Lila received a plain white envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a short note written in Adrian's handwriting, a copy the police had found during the case's cleanup. If truth survives, then I survive. You gave me that, Lila. Live free. Her fingers trembled as she read it. She folded the note carefully and placed it inside a small wooden box on her windowsill, next to the restaurant name tag she once wore and the necklace her mother had given her. It was her shrine to survival. A new beginning. That weekend, Lila went back to the place where it all began, the old restaurant, now shuttered and empty, a for sale sign fading in the window. She stood outside for a long time, listening to the echo of memories. The laughter, the clinking of glasses, the moment her life had turned upside down. Then she smiled and whispered, Thank you. Because if that night hadn't happened, if Camilla hadn't lost control, if the world hadn't turned on her, she never would have found her voice. She pressed her hand against the door one last time, then turned and walked away. The rain had stopped. The sky was clear. At the corner of the street, Eli was waiting with 2 cups of coffee. Thought you might need this, he said, grinning. She took it, laughing. You always show up right when I'm about to cry. That's what little brothers are for, he said. They sat on a nearby bench, sipping in silence as the sun broke through the clouds. Do you ever wish it hadn't happened? Eli asked quietly. Lila thought for a moment. Sometimes. But then I remember what I became because of it. And what's that? She smiled softly. Someone who finally knows her worth. The final reflection. Later that night, she opened her laptop and began to type. My name is Lila Torres. Once, I was a waitress at the D'Amore Club. I thought my life was ordinary, invisible. But sometimes the world forces you to break just so you can rebuild stronger. This isn't a story about a bite. It's a story about survival. About finding truth when everyone's trying to bury it. And if you're reading this, remember, no matter how powerful they are, no one owns your voice but you. She hit save, leaned back, and smiled. Outside her window, the city pulsed with light, alive, imperfect, and full of possibilities. For the first time in her life, Lila wasn't afraid of what came next. What would you have done if you were Lila? Fight for truth no matter the cost, or walk away to protect your peace? Tell your thoughts in the comments below, and never forget, sometimes survival is the victory. The end.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.